Hi, and welcome to another edition of Remembering Reflections from A Course in Miracles. So we had left off at page 52 in the book, chapter 4, The Illusions of the Ego. And I'm just going to do the one page, the introduction, and keep it short tonight. This basically, I'll read the introduction and then I'll just read a couple of highlights from it. So paragraph 1 says, the Bible says that you should go with a brother twice as far as he asks, which I think is so cool. It certainly does not suggest that you set him back on his journey. So, we're really here to go together and to continue to move forward in love with our brothers and sisters. That's what it's all about. So what I wanted to highlight from here was there was, the quote in here in paragraph 2 that says, you can speak from the spirit or from the ego as you choose. So again, it's your choice if you want to choose love and speak from that and speak from your heart, or if you want to choose the ego ways and speak from fear. I don't know, which sounds better to you, love or fear? To me, love. And it also feels better too. So it says, if you speak from the spirit, you have chosen to be still and know that I am God. So it just means in our stillness, when we're at one with ourselves in our heart and we feel that peace and love from God, we feel the oneness with God. So be still and know that I am God, that you are God, that I am God. And when we're in that place of oneness, we really are embracing love for ourselves and for our brothers and sisters and for everybody. It says here later on, if you speak from the ego, you are disclaiming knowledge instead of affirming it. So just untruths, and are thus dispiriting yourself. So you are just in the illusion again and not in your right mind, which you can choose to be in if you want to. And then the last paragraph, paragraph 3, says the journey to the cross should be the last useless journey. Do not dwell upon it, but dismiss it as accomplished. If you can accept it as your own last useless journey, you are also free to join my resurrection. And we know that resurrection in my definitions here means, I wrote, your awakening is what Course means by resurrection, and triumph of Christ over the ego, not by attack, but by transcendence. So then it says, until you do so, your life is indeed wasted. We're here to learn and to grow and to heal and find our way back to God. That's what we're here for. So if you don't do those things and you stay in your ego, which you're perfectly allowed to choose to do, it's kind of harsh. It kind of says that your life is indeed wasted. I mean, you're missing the whole point and the beauty of being here and of really healing yourself, and having that experience for yourself. So the other part I like is, it's interesting, he talks about the crucifixion, and today is April 1st of 2026, and it is the first day of, it's Passover, and it's also April Fool's, and it's also the full moon, and it's also the launch of the Artemis 2, which is going to orbit around the moon, which is pretty cool. So there's a lot happening today. So this talks about paragraph 3, sentence 5 says, it merely reenacts the separation the loss of power, the futile attempts of the ego at reparation, and finally, the crucifixion of the body or death. Such repetitions are endless until they are voluntarily given up. Do not make the pathetic error of clinging to the old rugged cross, in quotes. The only message of the crucifixion is that you can overcome the cross. Until then, you are free to crucify yourself as often as you choose. This is not the gospel I intended to offer you. We have another journey to undertake, and if you will read these lessons carefully, they will help prepare you to undertake it. So basically, I wrote some notes all in my book here, but I wrote, ego came into awareness when our minds chose to be separate. God didn't make the ego, so there's no true power in the ego because God didn't create it. So how can it be true or truth? Then I wrote, the ego depends entirely on the belief to exist. Without beliefs, it would disappear. So it's really, our egos are really invested in our beliefs because it wants to be real and it wants to continue to be in charge. So it's going to do everything it can to continue to make you put it first. So I wrote, the ego confuses identity and it makes you believe that you are separate and that you are vulnerable and you're lacking, and it constantly tries to prove its own existence because it doesn't want to disappear, which if you let all of those beliefs go, it would cease to exist. Then I wrote, so part of the explanation for the paragraph 2, I wrote, sorry, I have to read in the margins. Even though ego isn't real, your mind can still, I can't read my own writing. Can still, don't know what I wrote, to believe it is. Okay, even though ego isn't real, your mind can still make it real and believe that it is real, and you give the ego its existence, is basically what it's saying in paragraph 2. And then in paragraph 3, I wrote, oh my gosh, so tiny writing. Once you believe in ego goes on to create a whole thought system to support the idea of itself. And then this leads to us being confused and to our misperceptions because everything the ego says is based in a false narrative, basically. And then I wrote all over the place. The part where it was talking about the old rugged cross, you may be like, I know you've probably heard that song. And so I just want to clarify what it means by that. And I wrote, the old rugged cross means suffering, sacrifice, and martyrdom, and that we need to endure pain to prove our devotion. And I wrote, don't stay attached to suffering as if it's spiritually viable. Ego teaches pain and ego teaches that pain and suffering make you worthy, but the Course would say that love is your only truth and that healing and resurrection equals the truth, and that's all you need to know. The ego says that suffering equals holiness, which is not true. You don't have to experience all this pain and suffering in order to be worthy. You don't need to do that. So I wrote at the top, ego thrives on fear, conflict, and comparison. which is, I think, everybody in this day and age has experienced all of that, if not one of those, repeatedly. I put, you don't need to fight the ego. So I'm not saying you have to be angry at your ego. We all have egos, but you just have to recognize that it's not real, and that what you're feeling right now is not real, and you can change your thoughts, and you can get out of that fear. The awareness returns you to your true nature, which is wholeness, connectedness, and reminds you that you were created by love. So I thought that was interesting that it talks about the crucifixion. So it's not saying that the crucifixion like didn't happen. Our physical bodies can die, but there's an inner part of us that doesn't die, and that we are eternal. And we're not meant to carry a cross, which we're not meant to carry all of these burdens and hurts and pains and whatever. That's not what that is about. A Course in Miracles would say that, the purpose of the cross is to overcome the illusion, and that in no way was this meant to glorify any kind of suffering. And it's just calling attention to like our own pain and burdens that and beliefs that harm us and hurt us that we're carrying, and that we don't have to do that. Like we can. Nowhere says we have to go through our life and suffer all the way until we die. There is so much beauty, and when we recognize that and we see the healing, a whole new level of love and peace and joy and happiness, which is all that God wants for us, is open to us. So I would guess that A Course in Miracles is saying, you don't have to keep holding on to your pain. You don't have to keep holding on to your wounds or your struggles, and making that who you are, and making that your identity. Like I'm this person that is always struggling and hurting and emotionally and all that stuff. It's you don't have to make that who you are. Certainly those things happen to you. I'm not saying that we can't go throughout our lives without experiencing those things. We certainly do, but don't get stuck in them. They do happen to all of us, and we're allowed to feel those feelings, and we're going to feel those feelings because we're human, but we don't have to stay stuck in that. We can move through it. It is painful, but if you try and find like, what could I learn from this experience or whatever, and just not staying stuck there. So it just put, you are meant to move beyond them, and you don't have to prove your worth through them. So you don't have to be like, oh, I've done all this suffering, so I deserve to go to heaven or whatever. You can make heaven right now. So I wrote on this little heart thing, I wrote, instead of saying to yourself, this pain is part of my path and I must carry it, you could say, I am willing to release suffering and remember that I've been created in love, and to remember who I truly am. And I wrote, suffering is not a spiritual requirement. So just some things to kind of think about on your journey through A Course in Miracles. I just wanted to keep it short tonight. So I think for me, when I think about Passover, I think more that it's not actually like what happened. It's more of like a metaphor of, if you allow the pain to pass over you, it can bring you to freedom on the other side. So being, released, I guess it was is being slaves to Egypt or something, and then, they had to sacrifice, and the story goes that they put, lamb's blood on the doors, and then the angel of death went over and saved all the people who had this blood on their door, and then Moses could lead them to freedom. But if you think of it more as Course in Miracles as like a love and fear thing, it was, instead of letting fear overtake you, if you let it to pass through, and it can lead you to the promised land, which is love, the promised land of oneness and joy and peace and freedom with God and love. And so that's, I think, what the Passover story means to me. And I guess I would say that Passover could be like a practice in like releasing fear, and every time that we forgive is like a moment to remember that we're love. So I just wanted to mention that. And then also the full moon. So this full moon, I wrote down, is about celebrating your achievements and releasing what doesn't serve you. And then also it's about gaining emotional clarity. So it said to release what doesn't serve you by like any habits. Oops, I'm getting a text. And your habits that you want to release, and any emotions you want to release, and any relationships that no longer serve you. Oh my gosh, sorry. I'm getting some messages. Anyway, what you want to do is write those things down, and then you want to either rip them up or burn them or whatever. And then if you are seeking clarity, it would be a good idea to have like maybe a bath or something, and have a meditation, and you can ask questions about something you want clarity on, and spend some time in meditation, and then journal your answers after what comes to you, what pops in your head. And also I like that it was also about celebrating your achievements. So think about all the things that maybe in the last month or whenever that you've feel really proud of and you've done really great job at, and write those down too. I think that's really cool. Those should be celebrated. So that's what this full moon is about. And also I just want to wish the astronauts that are successfully lift off today, and they are going to be orbiting the moon. And it's so funny that it happened on the full moon, and it's also April 1st, and none of this is a joke. So anyway, I'm a little bit tired. I had a long day. So I had a fun day, but it was long. So anyway, I'm going to sign off now, and I'm just going to say that I'll see you next week. And until then, rise gently and return to love. Take care. Bye.